Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at the Franco-Prussian War Perry miniatures. So I've had a look at the Prussians in the past and painted those up, and now we're going to look at the French part of the Franco-Prussian War, so you can see the Prussian kits. These are in the modern Perry style, where they do one kit in the sort of, they call it skirmish, which is more firing and loading figures, and then one kit advancing, which is your figures normally charging or advancing. So they're really marketed towards, one kit's marketed towards people playing skirmish games, the other one's marketed towards people playing more rank and file type games. So I've opened one of them. I got, this one is the firing kit, so the skirmish kit. I also got one of the marching kits. It's just the same figures in each one, it's just how many frames you get. So let's take a look. So in the kit we get our wonderful Perry explanatory note. These are really good. They give you, if you don't know much about the period, they'll give you the classic things you need. So for example, one eagle per regiment. Regiment has three battalions, sorry. So don't load up heavy on the eagles. A little bit about uniforms. On the back you get this quite handy little model building example of how to build the different figures. I'll have a look at that once we get into the kit itself. And most usefully, I think, we get a sort of a spread about different uniforms. So this kit can be used to build Garde Nationale, so your sort of National Guard reservist types, although it says, you know, anyone with this setup would be a pretty well provisioned one. An excellent view of the back of a normal line infantryman. That's going to be very useful when it comes to painting. Sometimes it's hard to get back pictures of miniatures. A really good front image there. So again, for painting purposes, this is going to be on my table the whole time. And also, what I really like is we have a sort of a weird, more unique way to use this kit, in that you can build naval troops with it if you wanted to build some more different figures. You also get the classic Perry, I think it's Renedra. Yep, the Renedra base that is some of them are weird size. I think it's 45 by 40. I've never used these bases for anything other than basing a bit of terrain or something, scrap basing. Still nice to have. I doubt it adds much to the cost of the box. So let's look at the command frame now. Here is the French command frame. You get one of these per box. You have an officer. You have another officer with kit to carry a flag, which you've seen here. There's no flags. There's a few flags supplied, but I wouldn't be using those. You get an eagle to go on top of the flag, and you get a drummer. And you can tell there's a drummer because he's got the sort of drumstick holders and the little apron thing for the drum to go on. So you get arms in this frame. This arm here, this arm here, this arm here, and you can mix and match a few others to make sergeants and buglers. But for those figures, you need to use the bodies from the normal frames. I got 2 boxes, which gives me 35 of each figures, which means I've got 6 spare bodies to make buglers, sergeants, various different figures. So this is a really good, versatile extra set of sprue bits. With a bit of clipping and filing, you can get rid of the little flag holding thing there, and make a third officer wearing his greatcoat. Not too hard. I like the arms. It's got the sword. See if I can get it in better view. It's got the sword cupped under the arm there, with the carrying it like that. Very, very nice. What else we got? We've got holding the bayonet, another arm carrying the sword in the scabbard, the little fanion in the musket there. So with this kit, if you bought one of these kits, you'll have enough to do 1 officer, 1 sergeant, 1 bugler, 1 flag bearer, and 1 drummer. So all you need for a sharp practice game at max would probably be 2 sergeants, well, 2 officers at least, 2 or 3 sergeants, one or two buglers and drummers, which is what I plan on building this force for. So there's plenty of stuff on this frame here, if you buy 2 kits, to do up a full force for sharp practice. Advancing kit. So depending on which box you get, you will either get 5 of these frames or 2. So you've got 5 different advancing poses, which match on to 5 different backpack setups. So they're sort of, you get the figure without a back there, and you glue the front to the back. Quite simple. It doesn't take that long, and the cleanup is pretty minimal. The only mold lines I found are on the side of, you can't even see them on the video. They're on the very top of there, and just down the side of the I think it's a tent or a bedroll covering. Very easy, one quick swipe and they go on. Perry are like leading in plastic molding technology when it comes to getting the mold lines. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads. So 1 head for each body. Unfortunately, no spare heads. I would have liked some spare heads. I'll mention that at the very end, but you get enough heads to build everything in this box, which is really all we can really ask for. 5 arms, carrying at the shoulder arms with matching marching sort of arms here. And on this side we get the 5 charging arms. So you can make march pose or charging pose, and these charging arms go with these charging arms here. As the leaflet states, and I thought it was really interesting, but 1 in 8 figures get given one of these, and another 1 in 8 figures get given one of these. It was just the way the French issued these big cooking pots and extra canvas things. Shipments on a squad basis, something, but I haven't looked into it. So this kit is really good. This frame is perfect for doing up either skirmish figures in the charge pose, which the French were quite aggressive. It was one of their tactics. Or figures in a marching pose. You could use these for skirmishing figures, or for skirmish game figures, or for mass battle figures. So let's have a look at the other sprue. Again, depending on the box, you're either going to get you're either going to get 2 or 5 versions of this sprue. The figure count on the front of the box does not include this dead figure here as one of the figures, which is good. Sometimes I think it's the American Civil War boxes. It's the American War of Independence boxes that count the dead figures they give you as actual figures, which makes the mental planning a bit tricky when you have to keep remembering to subtract 1 in 6 or whatever it is. So you get 1 crouching pose, standing pose, sort of various different, 2 crouching poses, and 3 standing poses, all with separate backpacks only, so you don't have to glue this figure here or this figure here. There is one where you have to do the whole back thing, same as before. Very easy to do, even easier actually, because you lining up this side here without so there's one side with a bayonet. I'll show you that on the final figures, but one side has a bayonet that covers the seam, which is really brilliantly designed, and the other side is a bit weird, and sometimes it can look a little wonky when it's done. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads, all with keppies, and we have 1 spare kepi here, which we can put on this guy or put next to him or put in the bits box. Every figure here has legs to be attached or something like that. We've got the bayonet here for this figure, but what we're interested in are these arms. So we've got firing and loading poses for all of the chassepot rifles here. None of these figures have bayonets on the rifles. You'll notice that with the March box, every figure's got a bayonet on the rifle. Every figure's got a bayonet on the rifle. But with the firing box, we don't see that here. Nice little addition. These are, of course, breech-loading rifles. So you don't bolt-action rifles, really, but single-shot breech-loading rifles. So we're not super interested in close combat in this period, although we will see some of it. Again, so here we go. Matching arms, matching rifles, it's firing pose. Very crisp miniatures, very detailed. Very, very nice. So let me show you some built copies, and we'll get back to it. Here are some finished figures. As you can see, the arms go together really well. Again, the Perrys are just geniuses when it comes to designing plastic kits. And plastic kits are getting much, much better at doing this. The sling here for the chassepot hides the join between the arm here and the rifle. So even if it's not fully flush up against itself, which it sort of sits that way, but you don't see any join there, which is really, really, really smart. I'll show you what I mean about the... Let me show you what I mean about the bayonet hiding the join there. So now let me show you what I mean about when I said the bayonet scabbard hides the join. So we can see here that this is the side of the greatcoat, which is pinned back, and where the greatcoat meets with the uniform, where the front meets with the back, the bayonet just covers the front bit there, so we don't see it very much. Compare that to the other side, where we have a whoa, there we go, where we have a little bit of a line there. You can sort of see it. Probably not going to be able to see it once it's painted. But if you damage the edge cleaning it up, which I've done on one or two of them, you can see a bit more of an abrupt gap there, but not that big a deal actually. And I just noticed, not that big a deal. So I would rate these figures very highly. Little more fiddly to put together than the Prussians were. The Prussians went together very easily. It was arms and head. They didn't have too much to do. There were a few that were a little bit extra, but anyway, these went together really well. These bodies here are the ones you put the sergeant stuff on, so not these particular ones, but these troop bodies. So there are no specially designated sergeant bodies with an extra sash or anything you need to worry about not using for regular troops, as sometimes will be included in kits. All of these are regular troop bodies that you put sergeant pieces onto, or NCO or bugler pieces, or any of that sort of stuff. So that's the end of the review for these ones. I'd give them a high score, but I don't do scores. Fantastic figures. I've bought 2 boxes of them. There is a part of me that wants to do this in large scale Franco-Prussian War stuff, and I would definitely use these Perry Pickett figures if I was going to do that. Let me show you a little bit of an extra thing that I thought about doing and have done a test piece of, about how we can get even more use out of these Franco-Prussian War French figures. So Perry Zouaves are for the American Civil War. They come in a plastic kit with 40 Zouaves, so it's eight. Oh, here we go. I've got one of the sprues here. It's 8 of these sprues. So you get 5 Zouave bodies. I've clipped one off. We'll talk about that later. With both kinds of Zouave heads. So you have the heads with the turbans and the heads with just the fez thing. Many Zouave bodies there. And Zouaves are North African French troops, or North African uniforms. And eventually they were originally North African troops that the French sort of ended up mostly having French living in North Africa wear the uniforms. And the uniform style sort of took off in Europe. So we see Zouaves in the North American continent that fight in the Civil War on both sides. The Papal States have Papal Zouaves. The Zouave uniforms sort of get around. So they're armed here with some sort of caplock some sort of what's called like a mini ball type muskets, percussion cap muskets. What I thought was to do some Zouaves for the Franco-Prussian War, because the French were using Zouaves. They had 3 or 4 battalions of Zouaves, depending on when in the Franco-Prussian War you're talking about. So I took the Zouave body and put the Franco-Prussian War arms on it. So let me just get that in a position where I can show you what it looks like. So here it is from this side. This is a Franco-Prussian War marching arm. I'm going to go through and scrape those buttons off. I think this is looking really good from this side. I used one of these fez heads that comes in the kit because the French did have their white Zouaves, for use of a better term, wearing the fez. But I'm at the moment 3D printing some kepis because Papal Zouaves wore a kepi. And after the Franco-Prussian War starts, the French withdraw their troops from Rome, protecting the Pope, and Garibaldi's troops managed to take Rome and set up Italy as a kingdom. But a lot of Papal Zouaves went to France to fight for the Empire wearing their old Papal Zouave kit. So I figure if I can 3D print some kepis for the right size, glue them on these heads, paint these guys as Papal Zouaves, then I've got Zouaves I can use for some Risorgimento Italian stuff, and for the Franco-Prussian War period. So I get multiple use out of this one kit. I was a little suspect on how the arms would match up, seeing as this is an older Perry kit and the figures may well have been smaller. I'm really pleasantly surprised with how it's come out. As for size comparison, let's put a figure down next to it. He's a little shorter. Keep in mind this figure's also wearing a sort of a tall kepi and is angled backwards a little bit. They're about the same height at the shoulder. When you figure in the basing and the fact that the French figures are a little crouched down. Obviously, this is why I was a little smaller. But it's well within the reason, the sort of realm of possibility to put these two on the table next to one another. So I think that my little experiment will be a success. I'm not going to start painting these guys until I have finished painting all of these French troops, because I've also got French skirmishers and cannon and Prussian skirmishers and cannon coming from Perry itself to finish off these forces. So I'll upload some stuff about them later. This has been the review of the Franco-Prussian War French boxes. I highly recommend you get them. It's a fascinating period to learn about. Hopefully it's an interesting one to play. Done a lot of Mardi War stuff. So I've had breechloaders on one side, but not the other. It will be interesting to try out the Tufatlaty rules that came out in the 2020 or 2023 magazine for late European armies of the 19th century fighting one another. So, thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.